indeed. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by acknowledging that the Prime Minister, for the second time now, has decided to put the national interest before taking this country over the cliff of a no-deal Brexit. And I would say to members opposite who've argued for no deal, the Leave campaign at no point suggested that what they were proposing to the British people was that we should leave without a deal. I also want to pay tribute to my right honourable friend sitting next to me for her role and that of others, including the right honourable member for West Dorset, that have encouraged the Prime Minister to act in the national interest because of this bill. Now, I will vote for the motion. The Government is seeking an extension to the 30th of June, but we won't know until the end of tomorrow whether that date is granted or a different date. But it seems to me there are two truths here. The first is that whatever date is offered to her, I think the Prime Minister is going to have to take it. And the second is that we will, having been granted it, and I hope we are, have to decide what on earth we're going to do with the additional time. Now, I welcome the fact that the Government has reached out to the opposition and that the talks are taking place, but I would just gently say they are going to require some flexibility, a willingness to move, some compromise on the part of the Government if we're going to make progress. And for me, I think that should include compromise on how we will finally take the decision. Because the House has been very clear. Why are we in this state today? The House has been very clear. It will not accept leaving without an agreement. And we're also here because it's become clear that the promise that we could somehow, on the one hand, retain all of our sovereignty, bring it all back, and on the other hand, keep all of the economic benefits of European Union membership was not true. And the Prime Minister's deal really lays that bare. And that is why some members opposite cannot bring themselves to vote for the Prime Minister's deal, because I would argue it confronts them with a choice that they are not prepared to make. And the irony of this, we've had the criticism from opposite, but if all the people on those benches who campaigned most passionately for leaving the European Union had voted for the deal, we'd be out by now. But, Mr. Speaker, it is not a choice which the nation can continue to avoid. We must confront it. And I think the Attorney-General spoke very wisely, I think, to Nick Robinson the other day when he said, we have underestimated its complexity. He was referring to Brexit. We are unpicking 45 years of in-depth integration. This needed to be done with very great care. It needs a hard-headed understanding of realities. And that's why I would argue that the situation today is different from that in June 2016. I will give way once, yes.
Would he agree with me that part of the shame of this process is that it has proved possible that the Government could ever have underestimated the impossibility of unpicking 46 years of close cooperation?
The right honourable gentleman points to one of the other truths about this process, which sadly some people were unwilling to acknowledge in the course of campaigning for leaving, and the fact that they never had a plan has been exposed for all to see. And I have learnt over 2.5 years just how much the complexity of those relationships means to businesses and companies and individuals in their lives of the length and breadth of the land. Look, I think people knew why they voted in the way that they did. No one is saying they didn't. But what they were offered did not and does not exist. And therefore, is it not time for us to put that truth back to the British people, especially as the more time that passes, the more the mandate from the referendum of June 2016 will inevitably age. Now, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether the British people have or have not changed their minds, but I have come to the conclusion that we should now ask them whether they wish to confirm their original decision or not, in the light of the real choice that confronts the country and not the fantasy that was offered 3 years ago. And if we agreed to do that, then we could move on, because however long the extension that is granted, and we must hope and pray in the national interest that we do get one tomorrow, then the drama, and it is a continuing drama, the anger, and I acknowledge the anger that has been referred to by members opposite. The member for North Shropshire spoke about that with real passion. And the uncertainty could finally be brought to a conclusion in the hands, the capable hands, of the British people.
It would help if people would confine themselves to 3 minutes each. Anna Soubry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.